Hi, welcome back to 23 Days of Astrology with Marjorie Cottrell, and we are here together on day 18 to explore another chart example, and it is of Paulo Coelho. So I welcome you into his chart where we will discuss a little bit about his work. I'll share a piece of it with you, and then we'll point out some things in his chart. So this is Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian lyricist and novelist. You may be familiar with one of his books, The Alchemist, which was very well known. Um, I'm not going to spoiler alert if you haven't read The Alchemist. Please take a minute and pause if you would not like to hear about it. I'm not going to get into all the details, but it is a novel about treasures that are embedded within us, what we have been kind of like um, protecting underneath of us all along. And maybe we didn't even realize that we were doing so. And it's really a story of what has been inside of us and what has been with us all along. And it took a journey to uncover and to excavate what our gifts are. So, um, that's a little bit about The Alchemist. And I'm going to read you a piece that he wrote and called Without Solitude. And as I'm reading it, I would like you to kind of just gaze over his chart and take it in and some of the messaging and the things that he says. See if you can find it embedded in his chart. See if you can find that messaging or where these themes may come from. This piece was read to me when I went to Kripalu's Yoga Retreat Center. One of the facilitators at the end of a session read this at the end of a meditation, and it was really powerful experience. And when I found out that he had written it, I liked it even more. It's called Without Solitude. Without solitude, love will not stay long by your side because love needs to rest as well, so that it can journey through the heavens and reveal itself in other forms. Without solitude, no plant or animal can survive. No soil can remain productive for any length of time. No child can learn about life. No artist can create. No work can grow and be transformed. Solitude is not the absence of love, but its complement. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the moment when our soul is free to speak to us and help us decide what to do with our life. Therefore, blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do, something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. If you are never alone, you can not know yourself. And if you do not know yourself, you will begin to fear the void. But the void does not exist. A vast world lies hidden in our soul, waiting to be discovered. There it is, with all its strength intact. But it is so new and so powerful that we are afraid to acknowledge its existence. Just as love is the divine condition, so solitude is the human condition. And for those who understand the miracle of life, those two states peacefully coexist. So that was Without Solitude by Paulo Coelho. So let's talk a little bit about his chart and some of the major themes that are prominent in his writing. So we see that he is a deeply introspective person. And our eyes cannot help but be drawn down here to this stellium in the fourth house, the house of introspection, the internal piece of us. This is the house that also deals with our origin stories and our families and the land. But for Paulo Coelho's work, I really hear the voice and the theme of introspection shining through. So we can see it's very important to him, his character, and his life. With he has Taurus rising. So Taurus is on the first house in whole signs, and he has his ascendant here. So whenever we see Taurus rising, we look for the ruler of the chart. Where is Venus? Because this is Venus's home. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about his character and his identity. And it brings us right back down to that fourth house. We can see Venus here as a part of this stellium in Leo. So it's really showing us how his character and his identity and his temperament are really intertwined with these fourth house topics of deep introspection, of looking within, of excavating buried treasures. What is the mystery? And his focus is really drawn inward towards excavating that mystery, or even churning the mystery, accepting the mystery, not needing to make sense of it. This to me really points to a very internal locus of control with his chart ruler or his ascendant ruler in the fourth house. So, he's not the type of person that an external locus of control would, blame circumstance or blame everything beyond. But for him, it's really about taking ownership of action and believing that the control is with the power, and the control lies within. The other thing that really caught my attention, I used his chart when I did a workshop on, I forget what it was called, but it was astrology in your small business and looking for clues in your chart to help play into some of the natural strengths. And for that, I really thought about Mercury because when we're thinking about business, Mercury is one of the planets that we would look to, but also for small business owners, particularly, communication is really important. And a lot of times you are the brand if you're the small business owner. So how you take in information and synthesize it and convey it to other people is all mercurial work. So when we look to Mercury in the chart, it can lend us some clues and insights. So I was really thinking in that workshop, I used his chart as an example. Mercury in the very generous sign of Leo. So he's here, Mercury, the winged messenger, in the fourth house, again, of Leo. And, Leo is a place about being regal and being generous and sharing what we have with others and with those around us. So different things he said is life is about sharing. Live your personal legend. And again, he was very generous with his words, and inspiring with his words. So the other thing here is the prominent fourth house stellium. So this cluster of planets in the fourth house, this Leo stellium, is really telling us that there's a dense concentration here in this piece of the chart. And these topics are, the fourth house is important to everybody's chart because it is an angular house, and it is a key location for activity. But with four planets here, including the ascendant ruler, we can tell that this is even more prominent for him. The volume on these topics is very loud, and these themes of introspection and self-discovery run deep. So a couple of things that he had said was discover yourself. He writes a book to try to understand himself. So we can really see the interplay between the first and the fourth house through a comment like that. He's also said, encourage people to push our individuality to make sure our voice can be heard, can really hear individuality and voice. That's a combination of that Mercury in the fourth house of Leo. And he has also said, go and do your dream, live your personal legend. He is a great example of somebody who writes about the hero's journey, which can be very tied to the sign of Leo. So I'll close with this. And when I used to work in Center City, Philadelphia, I would ride the train, and there was the free Metro newspaper that I would grab and read often. And I have this saved. This has been on my vision board for quite some time. It's from October of 2011, and it was an interview about one of his books back then. wasn't The Alchemist. And I saved this because I am a writer as well, and I found it to be inspiring. So in this little article, he had said, okay, I have one more chance in my life. Either I renounce forever the idea of becoming a writer, or I stop doing everything that I'm doing now and I write. Thanks to God and with the support of my wife, I quit everything I was doing. I wrote my first book when I was 40 years old. I think we all have a kind of midlife crisis. When you look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I betraying myself? My midlife crisis brought me this epiphany to be faithful to my bliss. And here's another quote by Paulo Coelho. One day you will wake up and there won't be more time to do the things you've always wanted. Do it now. So, this is a great example of an introspective person who is generous by way of inspiring others. So I hope you enjoyed that short little piece on Paulo Coelho's chart. And if it inspired you or if it spoke to you, please share it with somebody who you think might like it. And I will see you next time for another episode of 23 Days of Astrology. Thanks for being here.